This is incredibly important. I have come to understand firsthand how poverty and discrimination disproportionately adversely affects women. So what is CEDAW? CEDAW is the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. While the US has not ratified the treaty, local jurisdictions, cities, and counties throughout the United States have taken efforts to adopt legislation, ordinances, embodying the principles of CEDAW. And so what this does. Hi, my name is Parisa Ijadi Maksudi. I am a co-chair of the Cities for CEDAW National Advisory Board, and I also serve as the UN advisor to the San Diego County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. Prior to that, I served as both a commissioner on the commission as well as chair of the commission. In addition to my service on the Cities for CEDAW National Advisory Board and my commission work, I serve as a poverty and civil rights attorney, which means I represent individuals and communities in poverty in cases impacting their fundamental human rights. And over the last 15 years of practicing poverty and civil rights law, I have come to understand firsthand how poverty and discrimination disproportionately adversely affects women, which is why I am so dedicated to the work that Cities for CEDAW and WIN do on a day-to-day basis. So what is CEDAW? CEDAW is the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. While the US has not ratified the treaty, local jurisdictions, cities, and counties throughout the United States have taken efforts to adopt legislation, ordinances, embodying the principles of CEDAW. And the reason they do this is because CEDAW allows for an evidence-based, data-driven approach to achieve intersectional gender justice. And so it is legislation that provides local government entities with a method, an evidence-based method, to identify, analyze, and eradicate discrimination through removal of barriers, impediments that women and girls face. And so this is incredibly important because this, in the legal realm, we call disparate impact. So it is looking at the discriminatory effects of policies and practices that seem neutral. They seem to apply to everyone equally, but in practice, when implemented, they are disproportionately adversely affecting or not providing equal access to certain groups of individuals. So the United States has not ratified CEDAW, the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women and girls, which is why local jurisdictions have taken efforts to adopt legislation, ordinances, embodying the principles of CEDAW. And so what this does is it allows local jurisdictions to have, as law, an evidence-based, data-driven approach to achieve not just gender justice, but intersectional gender justice. And so we know multiple forms of discrimination compound to oppress and disadvantage women, including based on race, based on ethnicity, based on disability, based on age, based on familial status, based on immigration status. And so what the effective implementation of ordinances embodying the principles of CEDAW does is it allows local jurisdictions to administer their programs and services in a manner that allows them to identify, analyze, and eradicate barriers to intersectional gender justice. And for example, the importance of data is from a local jurisdiction in which I live and work. And in that jurisdiction, I had the honor of representing community-based organizations that had accessed data. So this is redacted aggregate data. So it's not personally identifiable data, but rather data on information and demographics. And they were able to use that data to demonstrate that a program for extremely low-income households, disproportionately women, was being administered in a discriminatory manner. And they were able to show that based on the administration of the program, where people were able to live was limited due to a barrier, and that decreased the quality of life for individuals in the program. And so data is incredibly important to be able to identify the barriers that are decreasing the quality of life of women and girls in our jurisdiction, especially those that are living in extreme poverty. What I'm so excited about with CEDAW and the movement, Cities for CEDAW, is that this is a proactive approach to embed in all operations of city and county governments evidence-based framework for not only identifying inequities and disparities, but analyzing them and then being able to remove the barriers that are causing those inequities and disparities. So it is an approach that is granular in nature, gender justice focused, but also intended to address disability justice, racial justice, immigration justice. So the importance of data cannot be understated. In my experience, I've personally had the privilege of working with data experts to use data, government data, programmatic data, to demonstrate how there is a more effective and less discriminatory way of administering a program, administering a service, and ensuring that there's equal access to opportunity for all residents of a jurisdiction, regardless of race, regardless of immigration status, regardless of gender. So WIN has been pivotal, and WIN Cities for CEDAW movement have been pivotal in advancing and asserting the rights of women and girls in the region where I work, in San Diego County. And the reason for that is, as a commissioner, I took the lead on helping our county adopt a ordinance embodying the principles of CEDAW. And along with that work came assistance from a network of leaders across the United States, members of WIN and members of the Cities for CEDAW movement, who not only assisted in the drafting of the ordinance, but also assisted in educating our community, including our leaders, in how and why adopting this kind of ordinance was not only necessary, but was urgently needed, given the evidence-based framework that would be applied once this type of legislation was in place. And so since then, I've been very much involved in reminding colleagues, whether they're advocates or whether they're officials, in reaching out to WIN, reaching out to Cities for CEDAW to ensure that they're receiving the pipeline to the information, the education, and the resources that Cities for CEDAW has to assist jurisdictions in applying this framework to advance and assert the rights of women. So the reason Cities for CEDAW and the Cities for CEDAW movement is so important is because what it does is it furthers the work that advocates, officials, community-based organizations are doing on the ground to advance and assert the rights of women. And so, for example, Cities for CEDAW provides educational resources and information so that jurisdictions that are looking to further not only gender justice, but intersectional gender justice, have a model, have best practices, have the ability to tap into this national expertise, this institutional knowledge that so many of our leaders in the Cities for CEDAW movement have accrued over their years, their decades of doing this type of grassroots, legislative, and policy-based educational assistance. If you are interested in advancing and asserting the rights of women and girls, and you've been told to stay in your own lane, you've been asked why the urgency, you've been told to wait your turn, this movement is for you. There is no time like the present to take action through the Cities for CEDAW movement to support local jurisdictions as they take steps to not only adopt ordinances embodying the principles of CEDAW, but also effectively implement those ordinances so that together we can achieve intersectional gender justice for all women and girls in our community, especially those with the least access to opportunities. We encourage you to join Women Intercultural Network.